Hello and welcome to the Daily Comic and Collectible, episode 364. Now, the collectibles of the day were used once before, but there's no better issue for their use than this one. So today, it's the Square Enix, Play Arts Kai, Man of Steel, Superman and Jor-El action figures. From the Square Enix Play Arts Kai range of action figures, comes Superman, Kal-El, and his biological father, Jor-El, based on the characters from the 2013 film Man of Steel, produced by Christopher Nolan, written by David Goyer, and directed by Zack Snyder. Superman, the Man of Steel himself, from the planet Krypton, and now as the highly detailed and exquisite figure featuring a fair photo-realistic head sculpt of Henry Cavill, while Jor-El, his fully armed and ready for war in this Kryptonian battle armor and pulse rifle with a photorealistic head sculpt of Russell Crowe. Both figures are fully articulated and stand 10 inches in height. These 1/8 scale action figures come complete with additional joints on the capes, plus exchangeable hands, and both have adjustable display bases. Both come in window box packaging with opening flaps, imported from Japan by Square Enix. Now, the comic of the day is The Man of Steel, Volume 1, Issue Number 1, with the cover date of October 1986. This is the alternate B cover, with story, art, and cover all by John Byrne. This issue is titled, From Out the Green Dawn. Prologue. We open on the planet Krypton. Scientist Jor-El returns home to inform his wife Lara that their world is doomed. A geological chain reaction has fused the planet's elements into a new radioactive compound. This new compound is destroying their world, and they have only hours left to live. Jor-El tells Lara that they have devised a way for their son Kal-El to escape Krypton's destruction. The rocket has been programmed to land on Earth, a planet not too different from ancient Krypton, where due to the yellow sun, Kal-El will have vastly increased physical abilities. He places him inside of a specially designed birthing matrix equipped with a hyperdrive capability. As Krypton explodes, the gestation chamber launches itself into hyperspace. Its destination? Earth. Chapter 1. The Secret. Years later in Smallville, teenager Clark Kent single-handedly wins the high school football championship for Smallville High. As the crowd carries him off on their shoulders, his father, Jonathan Kent, approaches and beckons him away. He drives Clark back to the Kent family farm and warns him about showy displays of his powers. As they return home, Jonathan takes him to an abandoned section of field, where he reveals the buried remains of the Kryptonian birthing matrix Clark landed in. Jonathan explains how his wife Martha and he found the birthing matrix in the field 18 years ago, and had been concealing it ever since. Dealing with not only being an alien, but also being adopted, Clark determines that his days of irresponsible usage of his abilities must come to an end. He decides to leave Smallville in search of places where he can do greater good. Chapter 2. The Exposure. At the 250th anniversary celebration of Metropolis, where Clark Kent has been making his home for the past several years, a special NASA shuttlecraft named the Constitution prepares to land at Metropolis International Airport. Suddenly, a passenger plane enters the no-fly zone and collides with the Constitution. The shuttle goes into a tailspin and begins to falter. From the assembled crowd below, Clark Kent realizes that he has no choice but to save the people on board, even if it means revealing himself to the world. He flies upward and saves the shuttle. One of the passengers is Daily Planet reporter Lois Lane. An interaction almost occurs between the two as she's about to begin asking him questions, but they're swarmed by a crowded mob, which Superman flies away from and escapes. He returns to Smallville and confides to his parents, upset that despite his desire for secrecy, he was treated terribly like a commercial celebrity. Epilogue: The Superhero. Jonathan concocts a way that Clark can continue to publicly use his abilities while simultaneously concealing his true identity. Martha Kent sews together a colorful symbolic uniform for Clark to wear, using a gigantic S logo created by Clark and Jonathan. Although it is created with normal cloth, Martha, long ago, noticed that any fabric pressed right up close against him never tears anyway, although this will not protect his cape. Clark reinvented himself as Clark Kent into a number and meeker public identity with which to disguise himself, so he can lead a normal life. When it's finished, he dons his costume for the first time, becoming Superman. Geek Fact: this was a key issue with Superman's new origin, plus the first appearance of Keelix and Keelor, the Kryptonian service robots. Bonus Geek Fact: this issue changes his origin story. Although Superman is conceived on the planet Krypton, he's not actually born until he reaches Earth. This is a huge departure from all previous versions of the character, wherein he was physically born on Krypton. Another bonus geek fact: the date of Krypton's destruction is intended to coincide with the real-world publishing date of Superman's first appearance in Action Comics, issue number 1, from June 1938. But this will not be officially established until Action Comics, volume 1, issue number 600, from May of 1988. Baffling birthing babies, Batman! Customarily on Krypton, children are raised in a birthing matrix, separated from their parents until a certain age is reached. Jor-El, believing Krypton doomed, redesigned the chamber for interstellar travel and equipped it with a hyperlight drive. It was then used to send Kal-El to Earth before Krypton's destruction. The craft landed in Smallville and discovered by Jonathan and Martha Kent, and the rest is history. And final geek fact: Jor-El was a descendant of Kal-El, the ancient Kryptonian scientist who designed the Eradicator, an ancient artifact of Krypton with sentient personality, who has been both an ally and enemy to Superman. Jor-El was also a Kryptonian scientist and husband to Lara, Lor Van. He discovered the impending doom of his planet and sounded the alarm to no avail. Jor-El had a deep love and respect for Krypton's ancient past, which contrasted sharply with the cold, sterile world the planet had become. When it was arranged for Jor-El to be bonded with Lara, the reason being they were the most genetically compatible, Jor-El broke with tradition and asked if he could see the woman with whom he would have a child. Jor-El fell in love with her, and she eventually came to love him as well. They lived together, and a son was conceived from their sex cells and implanted in an artificial womb, known as the Matrix Chamber. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me for another Daily Comic and Collectible, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. This is Cat Fan Comics Man, and I'll catch you on the flip. Over